Hi students. Well, it's time for art class, and let's talk about grading and deadlines first before we go to the Godzilla of the week. First, I've included deadlines or due dates on your projects just so that you know when I want to collect them. Now, if you finish them early, that's sometimes I've had a couple students finish them a little early and they turn it in sooner. That's fine. Um, Even if you turn it in later, that's fine. Uh, because sometimes you miss your pod time and you just can't turn it in. I understand. Just turn it in next time as soon as you can. But after the due date, in PowerSchool, I'll put a zero as a placeholder for your grade. And I've told you this a couple times already, so hopefully you know it already. But if you get a zero, don't worry, it's not necessarily an F. It's just a placeholder until I get your project, right? When you turn in your project, when I get it, I'll change the grade to whatever grade it's going to be. But if at the end of the trimester, if you haven't turned in your work, the zero is a zero, and that will lower your grade. So don't let that happen. Just turn in your work. It's okay if it comes in late. Try not to. Try to get your work turned in on time. But if it's late, that's fine. Just turn it in. So that way the zero doesn't remain a zero at the end of the trimester. So don't forget, you can turn in your work and I will change your grade up until the end of the trimester. And you're like, wow, Mr. Smith, why are you saying that so much? Because I know some students will freak out when they see that zero. No need to worry. Just finish your work and turn it in, and you'll be fine. All right? Sounds good. What else do I want to say? I think that's it. So let's go to the Godzilla of the week. Oh, so the Godzilla of the week, it was tied between Mecha King Ghidorah and Destroyer. So, and I apologize, I think I didn't put it in for, the quiz didn't work right for fifth grade. I didn't set it up right. So sorry, fifth graders, you didn't get to vote, but that's okay. You're fine. You still get to see the Godzilla. So it was a tie between Destroyer and Mecha King Ghidorah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you King Ghidorah, Mecha King Ghidorah today, and we're not going to have a survey next week. I'll just show you Destroyer next week because he tied. So no quiz, Godzilla quiz next week. I'm just going to show you Destroyer next week. But for today, here's Mecha King Ghidorah. So here he is. He's pretty awesome. Let's see here. So this Godzilla was in, I don't know, he was in the 1991 version of Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, and he's even got cool stuff on the ends of his tails, robot stuff. And this is a pretty cool movie for back in the day. What happened was halfway through the movie, you know, King Ghidorah gets defeated, and I think he loses a head. And so at the end of the movie, they repair him and he fights Godzilla again. I don't remember. I don't want to spoil the movie, but it is Mecha King Ghidorah was cool in the movie. So that's all I got to say. And that's why I got this model. This model is made out of resin, not out of vinyl. The other models are made out of vinyl, which is a soft plastic. Resin is kind of like a hard plastic, and so he's like super brittle, and he can break real easy, and that's kind of scary. And also, like, parts are heavy on a resin kit. So, like, for this wing, like, there's a peg here, right, that it plugs in. But I had to use a piece of metal, like the end of a paper clip. I'd cut it off and drill a little hole for support for wings like this. Otherwise, these wings would just fall right off. So, resin's a little trickier to work on, but they hold a lot more detail. Let me see if you can see the detail in the wing. Is that going to blur? There's like texture in the wing. I don't think you're able to see it. Whatever, it's alright. But there's like really cool texture in the wing that you wouldn't be able to get in vinyl. So, it's like a grid. Okay, that's it. That's Godzilla of the week. Okay, So next week, no quiz, or this week, no quiz, and I'll just show you Destroyer next week because they were tied. They were tied for 13 votes each. So that's it for this part of the lesson. Let's go on to the art part. So we're going to talk about art now. Hi, sixth graders. Today we are going to be working on our Scratch Zebra project. But before we go do that, let me remind you, we have a quiz you need to take. So if you haven't taken the quiz, take the quiz. There's I think it's a 5-question quiz, and it was from last week, and it's worth 10 points. So I gave you 2 weeks to take that quiz. So if you haven't taken that quiz yet, be sure to take it because there were 10 points. And it's easy. You need to watch the video for the third cut line project. So at the end of the third week of cut line, I tell you the answers basically, right? So it's like the complementary colors and then warm and cool colors, right? So that's on the quiz. It's easy, but make sure you take it. You don't want to get a 0 on that, and it's easy. It should be easy for you. Okay. Today we're going to do Scratch. We're going to do some Scratch art, and we have what are our supplies? Well, we have this handout, this paper. We have a very thin Scratch paper, so this will be black. It should be black and white. And then you have a paper clip. We're going to use this paper clip to help us kind of scratch. Another thing we need though is like a dull pencil. Do I have it? I don't have it in my materials. You need a dull pencil, not sharp because that'll snap, but we'll use this to like kind of trace some of this drawing onto our scratch paper, and then we'll scratch it, okay? So the first thing you want to do is you want to get a dull pencil, so it's kind of like that, so it's kind of dull. If it's sharp, then you can just kind of like scratch it on a piece of paper until it kind of gets dull, because you want to use that. If for some reason you don't have a dull pencil or it's not working, you could probably use a popsicle stick, but a dull pencil is going to work better. I don't know. Dull pencil. What I did is I used the scissors and I cut this off, so this kind of makes kind of a sharper point. So then that would work too. I could kind of like drag. I could kind of drag on that as well. It's up to you. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, oh, and let me tell you this. Your black and white scratch paper, it's very flimsy and it can tear real easily. So you have to be super careful with this. Just be extra careful with this because it can tear. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to write your name on the back of your paper. Ooh, it's slick, so it doesn't work very well, but you can do it. Wow. You can use a marker if you want, but just make sure you can read it. And then put the letter of the teacher you have. So if you have Corver, let's see, this is for 6th grade. Corver, it's going to be a K. You'll circle it. Boy, you can't even see that. Make sure I can read it. That's important for grading. Okay, anyways, you got your name on the back of your paper. Now what we want to do is, in the past I had my students try to draw this, and that's kind of hard for them to do. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to trace this on top of our scratch paper, but if we trace very with pressure, don't break through the paper, but if you like put a lot of pressure, it'll leave a mark on the black paper underneath, and we'll use that to help us figure out where the drawing is. So let me show you what I mean by that. Black and white scratch paper, photocopy of your zebra, you put it on top. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your dull pencil, or anything that's kind of dull like this but has a tip, and you're basically going to trace this. So watch, I'm going to trace the general shape of my zebra, like his face, his eyes, and his ears, right? Then I'm going to trace
these stripes, right? Okay, here we go. You want to press down firmly, but don't rip your paper, but firmly. So like I'm pressing down pretty hard here. Let's see if that worked. Yeah, it's totally working. Then I'm gonna like follow his face here. So I'm gonna kind of like, you have to kind of use pressure. Okay, and then I'm gonna kind of trace around his eye. Okay, and then his face. I'm adding pressure. I'm doing it pretty hard, but not enough where it would tear the paper. But you got to be pretty strong about it. Okay, and then here's his eye. I'm going to trace around that. Okay, and then here's the rest of his head. I'm actually going to do this. Okay, and then he's got an ear here, so I'm going to trace around his ear. Whoa, I almost went through the paper there. Okay, so yeah, so hard, but not too hard. He's kind of got like an inner ear. I'm going to do that. Okay, he's got like a little mohawk thing here. It's like his mane, I guess. So I'm going to kind of do that. That kind of goes back here, and then it continues here. So I'm going to kind of draw that line. I'm going to trace this ear. Basically, you want to trace hard, but not too hard to tear through your paper. Okay. Oh, and I'm going to do his nostrils. He's got big nostrils here. So the first step is to get these basic shapes. Then I'm going to trace, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to try to keep this on the paper. I have to bring this up to the camera. Let's see what we got here. I might have to take this paper off. I got to take the paper off. So you can see that it left an indent where those lines are, right? And you can see, oh yeah, there they are. They're the indents. Okay. The problem is this paper is so thin. Wow. Yeah, it makes your paper fragile, so just be super careful. Okay, so I'm going to try to put this back on as best I can. And now I'm actually going to trace, these stripes too. Now, this is nice. So I'm tracing the big stripe first. He's got like a big stripe. I don't know, this thing. I'm tracing that. The nice thing about this is it's going to ensure that our zebra drawing is kind of accurate and kind of matches this thing. But the problem, though, is it's going to make our black and white paper very fragile and susceptible to ripping. So you just got to be careful. And I know that is going to be hard for some of you. Just be careful, all right? If it tears, tape it in the back. I'll show you. Try not to rip, but you're like, Mr. Smith, my paper totally ripped. I know. So you'll just try to be careful and tape it in the back. I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm tracing like all of these kind of white marks on my zebra. I'm tracing around the outer edge, right? Okay, and then don't forget these things. Like I'm going to trace these. So like here's this, basically the outer lines of these. You want them to be as close as possible, but if they don't match perfectly, it's kind of okay. And then I got these stripes in his mane. And then there's one here. So that should be it. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. Okay, oh, he's kind of got a line here. It's kind of weird. Like, where does his mane go? I'll leave it up to you. It kind of feels like it goes like here. I had another line though on top of it, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm kind of done with this. Now, don't throw this away. You're going to look at this paper. So I'm just going to, I don't know. The problem is, okay, so here we go. So that looks pretty good. So I have I'm going to do it like this because, oh boy, I need, okay. So now what you're going to do is you're going to use your paper clip. This thing's going to... Okay, that might help. Paper clip. So we're actually going to use this carefully. I had more dangerous scratching tools, and I decided it's just safer just to send a paper clip home because it kind of works. You just have to be real careful. Now here's what you do. You paper clip, and you're just going to fold it out like this, and you want this part to be straight. Don't fold this part out because that's where you're going to hold it, right? You're just going to scratch with this thing. So I bent it out. There it is. Now the problem is if you go straight down, it may not work. Straight down, you may not work. You have to kind of go at an angle. And then sometimes even that won't work. You might have to turn it around until you get it just right, until it starts scratching. The problem though too is that this paper is thin, and I can't help that. Like I got color boards, maybe you remember from 5th grade, and they were a little thicker, they were a little more sturdier. These ones for some reason are very thin, which is unfortunate. But you don't want to press down and scratch too hard, you'll scrape through the paper. If you do, like sometimes when you're scraping, it'll tear. And what you do is you'll just flip it over, get a little piece of tape and tape it. You'll just tape it on the back. Get the clear Scotch. Let's see. Oh, right here. I got it. So you would just tear a little, little part, and then you just tape it as best you can. And then when you scratch in that area, just be extra careful, or maybe just leave it alone and kind of work on other stuff. Okay, so what are we doing? So we traced our lines. You can kind of see it in that light. You can kind of see that, oh yeah, there they are. So that will help me scratch it away. Wherever I scratch away, I'm going to have white. So it's the opposite. Normally you draw with black lines. Well, when we scratch away, it's going to be white lines, right? And that's kind of fun and kind of cool, but you have to be careful. But the first thing is let's see if I can get this to work. You want to be super light, and you want to scratch away a general outline, but we can't even see it yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of scratch around, and then I'll show you. But you can do it very lightly, like I'm barely doing it, and I'm kind of scratching away, like I'm barely doing it. You know, when you can see the white line, that means that's enough. You don't need to do it any more than that. And you want to kind of get a nice, good shape for around your zebra. Like you want to start there first. I'm using little lines too. Let's see. Boy, you can't see that. He's hairy, right? So it's okay if your lines are, I'll show you. If they're short, they'll look like hairs. And that's kind of what we're going for. Now we're going to add more hairs later. Let me get this ear first before I show you close up. So I'm just tracing around with short lines very carefully. I'm not digging in this time. I'm not digging in like I did with a pencil. That was to go through the other paper. Not go through it, but to leave a mark through the other paper. Not a pencil mark, but a indentation, right? This one, I want to be very careful because I just need to get these lines happening. I'm going to do his mane too. So he's got like a little mane here. He's got little lines. And then it kind of goes up like that. Here's his neck. I'm going to kind of do that. Okay. You know what? I'm just going to do this one too. Don't worry if you kind of mess up a line too, because there's going to be so many little lines that if you make a mistake on a line, you won't see it soon because you'll have so many lines. And I'm going to do his nostrils real quick. Remember, you don't have to press down. Okay, I guess that's it. Okay, you know what? I'm adding 2 more lines here. I'm adding, oh, I can't even see where that goes. This one. And then this one. And then this one. Okay. I guess that's it. Okay, so it's, you can kind of see it. You can kind of see it, but I'm going to bring it. Oh, shoot. I got one more line to do. Darn it. Okay, I'm doing this one. I want to do the inner ear on this one. So these are like, his ear is hairy, so I'm using little lines to kind of, it's kind of like a sketch, but not totally. Okay, so I got it. So let me see if I can put this closer. Yeah, so here you can see I just started scratching away. I haven't even gone on to all the crazy detail in here yet, but I just kind of wanted to go around the outer edge of his face and his mane and his ears first. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolden the outer edge of his face, because if his face is just a thin line, it will get lost in all of the neck detail and all the stripe detail on his face, right? So I'm going to make this line a little bolder, and around his eyes too. I want that to be kind of a bolder line. Later you'll add eyelashes and stuff like that. We have 2 weeks to work on this. So don't feel like you have to finish this week. We're going to kind of do a lot of this, and then we'll save the rest for next week. But before I go on to those, all the detail in here, all this white, before I start scratching that away, I definitely want to bolden these lines around his face. So how do I do that? I wonder if I can just bring it up to show you. Let's try it. Let's see here. Is that in focus? I'll show you a little bit, then I'll put it down. You basically want this, it's hard to do it like this. You want this line to be thicker. So you're kind of doubling it up. You can kind of see it. Like and around his eye, you want that to be kind of doubled up. This is where you want it to be, you want to be careful. And you don't want this edge, like his eye is not hairy, so you want like this line to be nice and smooth but doubled up. There. That's what I'm looking for, and you can kind of see it. He's kind of got a little, and then so here. When we get to his ears, though, his ears are kind of hairy, so they can be a lot of little lines like that. But for the side of his face, this is kind of a bolder, thicker line, so that we can even, so it'll separate from the rest of his body, because because there's going to be so many lines where we want to be able to see the edge of his face. Otherwise, we won't be able to tell what it is. Okay, I got to put this down, but you get the idea. It's a little bolder. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly, I'm going to go around. Remember, you can look at this picture as a reference. Like, it may, things, I mean, our goal is to make it look as close as to this as possible, but yours might change a little, right? That's fine. We just want it to be close to that zebra. As close as we can. You might come up with something that looks a little better or a little smoother or something. I don't know. It's fine. So let's see here. Okay, so that line's getting a little bolder. Remember, I am not pressing down very hard at all. Let me try. I know you can't do it when straight down. Let me try it. Ooh, it kind of works. Oh, not so bad. It's dangerous, though, when you go straight down like this. You could tear your paper. But if it's working and you're being careful, go for it. Actually, this is working very well. I'm surprised. I'm cool with that. You might have to find... That's actually working very well. I'm kind of happy about that. Okay, so that worked. You can kind of see my line there. There you can see my line. I'm going to increase his nostrils, make those... Now, inside his nostrils would be black, right? Because it's like a... because it goes into his nose, right? But around the edge of his nostril, I want to make sure it's a broader line, so that way we can just even see his nostril, right? This one's a little different size. I kind of messed up here, but that's okay. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. It's hard to see, but let me show you this. If you screw up a little bit, let's see. Originally, I had the bottom of this nostril here, and you can kind of see I have a line there. but I ignored it and I just went and made it bigger to match this one a little better. If you screw up and make something, just leave that line and just go further and make it bigger if you have to. Like look at this picture, look at your drawing. It's okay to have an extra line. When you look at it right now, you're like, oh my gosh, I messed up. I can't do this anymore. But by the time you add all of your lines, you won't even see that line. It won't even be that big of a deal. Okay, finally, I got to go to his ears. Now on his ears, he's got like furry ears. So I'm going to make these lines bolder but bigger. And they can be kind of like, they're kind of like the eyelashes because he's going to have eyelashes. He has eyelashes right there. But these lines, so I'm kind of like, should I show you? Let me try to show you. I'll try to go on this ear. So when you do it, you can kind of combine some lines. Like you have to combine a lot of little lines to make kind of like a hair. So it's like lines going the other way. Yeah. So you can do that. And that will make it look more like he's got a hairy ear. That's what you definitely want to do for his eyelashes. Okay. Anyways, let's see. I'm just going to do this. You might be able to do it with just one stroke. Like those look pretty good. Let's see here. I'm going to go this way. Boy, it does work pretty good straight down. So I get a broader line. That's working pretty good. Especially for these ears. Okay. That looks pretty good. So let's see. Ear. Right? Ear. He's got eyelashes. Let's see. Do we want to do the eyelashes yet? Maybe. Since I'm doing it. So again, my hand's going to be in the way. He's got some eyelashes. These are kind of long. They don't have to be perfect, but they kind of... There. Even a boy will have eyelashes. Now he's got a highlight in his eye, that white. So be careful when you do this. You just want to kind of scratch away carefully, in it, like maybe make a circle, and then you don't want to totally dig in because you'll dig in a hole. But you can follow this picture and kind of give you an idea. So I kind of have his highlight there. I almost didn't make it as big as that one yet. I can always make that bigger later. He's got kind of like a broader white line under his eye. Okay, that's pretty good. Good. And then I'm gonna go over here. He's got another highlight, kind of like right about here. I'm gonna kind of just put it in place. I don't have to totally finish it yet. And then I got to turn my paper to get these eyelashes. If they don't all go in the right way, that's okay. In fact, you can kind of see in the pictures they're not all perfect. Okay, that's good. And then he has kind of a bolder white line there to kind of create his the shape of his eye. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now let's see, we've got that. Now what we want to do, I'm just going to quickly do this ear real quick. Let's see, my hand is totally in the way. And then I'm going to go on this side. Take your time when you do this. What happens is when you scratch, you don't want to scratch like this, or it's like scratch, like everything's perfect. Remember, this is an organic drawing. The hairs kind of go in different ways. So it's kind of okay when you scratch, like some of them maybe might go that way a little bit. It's okay if they're not perfect. In fact, they look more organic. Like here you can kind of see, like these are kind of going that way, and then this one kind of goes that way. It's like they're kind of overlapping and folding on top of each other. That's fine, especially for hair. He's got a lot of ear hair and body hair, and it's kind of okay if some of these lines are kind of random. Now when you get to the inner part of his ear, there's a lot of hair, and it kind of goes on the inside. So let me see if I can do this. I want my lines to be thicker. It actually helps to go straight down. Oh yeah, that's working good. So depending on your paper clip, this is working great. You want to get these lines bolder. Now, if they're not bold, you might... Oh, this is really good. It's bold. So I'm getting bolder lines by going straight down. If I go on an angle, they won't be so bold. So that's for fine. This works good, but you don't want to press down too hard on your paper to rip it. Now, there's a lot of white here. So you want a lot of white there. So maybe I want my hairs to go even further in. They go into his ear kind of. And then along the edge, there's more white. So maybe I can kind of build up the white along the edge. Anyways, you can pause the video and try this, or you can basically just look at this. You want to copy that thing, right? So you have the photocopy. Don't try to make it up. Don't just like, oh, I just make lines there. No, like, look at the drawing. Like, look at those lines. They don't have to be exact. I mean, it's impossible to make it exact. But it's like, oh, these lines are longer, right? Like if you only do if you do this, does this look like that? No, this is like incomplete, right? So you would go in and you would, and it looks like he's got bigger lines along the edge of his ear. Like I didn't do that very well, so maybe I want to pull these lines back in to kind of get a good, to make that ear look more hairy, whatever. Okay, so now it's at the point where I have to start. We're not going to do everything on this. Let's see, let's finish this ear. So I'm going to finish this ear. So this one kind of goes in. Let's see if I can get these lines broader. Yep. By pressing straight down. I was afraid it would tear. If it looks like it's going to tear, you could try a different tool too. Let me try this. These don't work very well, but I've got like a round toothpick. Let's see if it works. Sometimes it depends. I might need a new toothpick. Nope. 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 It works if I get it a certain way. This might help me on my stripe. Okay, that doesn't work very well. Popsicle stick? Let's find out. Nope. A little. You got to get it just right. These are going to be good for solid stripes, so I'm going to leave that off for now. The paperclip works pretty good, so I'm going for it. I just got to make bigger, broader lines with my, and these lines go in, they go into the ear kind of, and you look at the picture, you look at the zebra picture to get your ideas. And see, these lines go in. Now, when you use lines for, normally you use lines for shadows, but because our paper starts black and we're adding the white, our lines are creating light. And normally they call this cross hatching, because you got these lines, or hatching. They're basically these lines, and the more lines, I'm actually creating the light, right? And it looks pretty bright. So it's okay to use a lot of white, because zebras, they're not just black, they're black and white, right? So you want to have a good balance of white and black. And so you can kind of see here, I'm going around the shape of the ear. Boy, I need to add some more white in here. Be careful not to go through your paper. Let's see here. That's pretty good. I want to add. Oh, you can't see it, darn it. I'm bolding some of these lines so that some of them are thick and some of them are thinner. You want to get variety. So like some of these hairs will be thicker, some will be thin. Create some variety. There, that one's thick, this one's thin. Okay, so let's look at my ears. So those are looking pretty good. Thick and thin lines. Thick outline around our zebra head. Great, so far so good. Now I want to get to the first stripe. So let's talk about making some of these stripes, right? And how do we do them? Well, I'm going to turn my paper over. I mean, you just scrape them in, and you scrape them to be mostly white. Don't make it absolutely white, but make it white. And what I mean by not absolutely white is you want to still see a little bit of black in there. So let me show you. I'm going to do it first. Okay, so let's look at it. Here's my first stripe. All right, that's pretty good. And that's mostly white, but I think I can I don't want to get rid of all the black, but I think I can scrape that some more. Don't leave too much black. You know, normally I'll get students, they'll do this. They won't do it enough. They'll go like this. They'll be like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Don't do this. They're like, done, I did my white, this is my white stripe. No, no, no. That's like a dark gray stripe, right? This is closer to white, but I think I can scratch away some of that even more. You don't want it to be pure white. You want it, but I can get more white than that, and this definitely isn't enough. So let me scrape away some more here. Let's see here. You want to make it mostly white. It's nice to have a little bit of black marks in there. Like it's not pure white, but it's mostly white. Okay, let's see here. And then I'm going to add some, you can see it's whiter. I'm going to add some little hairs on top here. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it looks like I can kind of maybe connect them a little more. And then I added a little, it's hard to see, I added a little line here to kind of blend it a little. So it's not just like a stripe. Here, I'll show you. There. You can see I added a little line here, and then I added one here. So it's kind of like, it kind of helps blend it. There's like a line here. I added some little lines here to kind of, remember, it's not a stripe. It's like a part of his mane. It's hair. It's short, but it still has, let's see if I can do it here. It helps kind of blend it, make it, yeah, it makes it more natural. So that's a white stripe. This is not. So I would just go back, if I was a student, I would just go in and scrape this more. Now let's try, you know what, it's delicate near his eye, so I'm just gonna scrape these in a little more. Okay, let's see here. So I'm scraping them. My hand's in the way because my camera's there. Let me show you a trick. Let me show you what I'm doing here. And you can look at, remember, you look at your handout, your photocopy, to kind of, you can match that. Like, you can match me or match the paper, it's all good, but let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, so let's look at what I did here. Notice that I left a little bit of black here, so that way you can kind of still see that line. That's his neck. So this is like his mane, and that's like his neck. I left a little bit of black there. I tried to scratch away as most as I could, and then I was careful. I kind of scratched. I left a little black around his eyelashes too, so that we can still see it. I mean, if that's just big white, you're going to lose all that. So that's more white. Now I got another big white stripe here. Can I use this? Yes, but let me experiment with a different tool. You might have something at home like a popsicle stick. I have a popsicle stick. I cut this off with a scissors. Use a good scissors because you might hurt your scissors. And this may not work right away, but if I find the right angle, and you know, it'll work. So like, see right now it's not working, but if I tilt it, or if I get the right angle, or if I keep scratching, eventually I might, ooh, oh, I almost got it. Okay, I finally got it. So I got it, and I'm gonna stay with it. Now this is dangerous because this could ruin your paper. So be careful if you do, and it makes an awesome noise. And you want to hold your paper too. You just don't want to go like this. You'll totally crinkle your paper. So I'm holding my paper carefully, and I'm trying to, and this ain't working very well. Let's see. There we go. Okay. But you can see that if it does work, it gives you a nice broader lines. It's easier to fill in your stripes. Let me try this side. I'm using the round edge of my popsicle stick. Ooh, I don't like this. So I don't recommend this. This is dangerous. Dangerous in like you can screw up your paper. And I wouldn't recommend a tool like that on his inner face. Maybe on this big stripe, but like on the thin stripes, you could totally crinkle or ruin your paper. But one thing a different tool can do is it helps me fill in a white area faster. Let me try this. Let me try this guy. Nope. Negative. Wow. Okay. Okay, so this is your best tool. But once I did this, am I done with that stripe? No, I want to be neater. I want to go right up to the edge. I want to go up to this. So I can just scrape it normally and more carefully. And what I would recommend, even if you did use something different like a popsicle stick to get most of this, you can still go back with your paper clip and kind of blend it or like add some small scratches so it feels like you did the whole stripe with your paper clip, and it'll match the overall picture. If you blend some paper clip scratches with whatever tool you use to do bigger scratches, but in all honesty, that didn't work very well, and it was very dangerous to rip. I just wanted to give you options. Um, you want to be careful not to rip your paper or to cut through it. And the problem is I had to use a lot of force with that popsicle stick. So I don't recommend it. So if you're like, I don't want to use a popsicle stick, I'm scared I'm going to ruin my paper, that's fine by me. Just use this. This is safer. It takes a little longer, but not too bad. Let's see if I can... This one's getting there. Boy. Let me try this one. It's just going to take some time, and I got to go over it again and again. Hold your paper, especially when you're near a corner. Well, it's going to take a long time. That's okay. You can just slowly scratch it away. Yeah, especially hold your paper here when you get to the edge. Maybe go towards the edge instead of like going into it, because you might crinkle your paper. So I can go out. I'm like going away. That might help too. Ooh, it's going to take forever. But you'll slowly build up a white. I got a long ways to go, but that's okay. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to start this zebra. Let's leave... let's see. You can do this. You can do some scratching along his... Let's leave all of his face for next week. What we'll do is we'll go in... You know, if you want, you can start tracing them. Like I can trace out where these lines go. Yeah, let's do that. You can do that. It's not due this week, so we can work on it next week too. But you might trace out where these lines are. Boy, I can't even see them. But don't finish it this week, because we have 2 weeks to work on this. Oh boy. Yeah, you can start tracing those lines. Ooh. The problem is, where's the white and where's the black? It's kind of confusing. Well, remember, that's where we look at this, right? Like what I'm going to do is, I didn't even do the center. I didn't even do all my lines. I didn't do all these lines here. So let's see. I would have had a line here. And then he has like a diamond in the middle. So like, that's a lot of lines. So like next week we'll talk about this, but I'm going to tell you we're going to start in the middle diamond, because we know that's where white is. So like I would start here. But I'll finish this here. I'm going to start it so I know this is where white goes. Okay. But like we would start here, and then we're going to like radiate with these stripes out. Anyways, it's going to help us. So you don't have to finish your zebra. Finish these big stripes. Be careful though. Try not to rip your paper. There's also some little lines in here too. Like just because this is a black stripe doesn't mean there's nothing in there. Like I can draw some, there'll be some lines in there because there'll be hairs, right? He's got another white stripe here. So, but you can go and you'll add some lines in here and try to make it look like hair. They don't all have to be perfectly straight. Like sometimes they'll curve a little bit. But like I said, you look at this paper to give you ideas. So your paper clip, just be real careful with your paper clip. Try not to rip your paper. And we're going to do part of it. So you're going to do like the neck, and then you're going to do this. Maybe finish this part. Do some like hairs in here, and the ears, the eyes. Next week we'll do the all of the white stripes in his face. All right. So, but that was it. Make sure your name is on the back. if it's hard to read, you might get a Sharpie to write your name on the back, or just a pencil, but just make sure I can read it. That's important. And then don't forget, I'm going to remind you one more time. There's a quiz. So a quiz from it was the end of the third cut line week. At the end of that video, the third video for the cut line, I say, okay, there's going to be a quiz, and at the end of that video, I tell you all the answers. Basically, it's the complementary colors, right? And then the warm and cool colors. And I tell you what the answers are going to be. And then what you can do is, if you didn't watch that video yet, just watch it, or go to the end of that video and get that information, and then take the quiz. It's a 5-question quiz, but you only have one more week to do it, so make sure you take that quiz. So it's in last week's module. It'll just be, I forget, color. I think it's called color quiz. So don't forget to take that, because it's easy, but you don't want to neglect it. Okay. Anyways, we're going to work on this next week as well. So there'll be part 2 of our zebra scratch next week. Have a good week, and I'll see you then. Bye. Have a good week.